Hi, my name is Luke, and in this video I will be showing you how to code a profitable RSI plus EMA crossover expert advisor. Before we start coding this EA, let me show you on a chart what we are trying to achieve. So here we can see we have two indicators. We have the EMA set to 200 periods. Then we have an RSI using the default settings, which is 14 periods. And so whenever the price is above the 200 EMA, we will consider this to be an uptrend. Whenever the price is below the 200 EMA, we will view it as a downtrend. And so for our buy entry, we will only enter if the price is above the 200 EMA and the RSI line goes below 30 and then back above 30. For a sell entry, we will only enter if the price is below the 200 EMA and the RSI line goes above 70 and then back below 70. We will use risk in percent for the entries. We will also have a stop loss and take profit. These will all be user inputs, so you can change them in the EA settings. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the explanation. Without wasting any more of your time, let's go to the MetaEditor and start coding this EA. Okay, so here we are in the MetaEditor. I've already created and cleaned the file. First, we need to include the trade.mqh file so that we can perform trading operations. Then we add the ctrade class and create an instance of it called trade. Next, we need to create two handles, one for each indicator. We will call them handle RSI and handle EMA. Then we need a double variable for the indicator buffer, which we will call indicator buffer. We will use this to copy the values from these handles into the variable so that we can use them. Now we need some user inputs. So first of all, we want an input for the time frame. So we can say input enum timeframes, and we will call this time frame and we will set it to period current by default. This will make sure that it always uses the time frame on the currently selected chart. Then next, we want to provide an input for the EMA period, which we will set to 200 by default. Again, it can be changed. And now we want to add the RSI for the upper and lower bands. We will set the upper band to 70 and the lower band to 30, again by default. We can change this later if needed. Then we want to define the risk percentage per trade. We will set this to 1% by default. So regardless of how big the stop loss is, we will never lose more than 1% per trade, or whatever you choose to change it to in the EA settings. And then we need a magic number. So when we are placing trades through this EA, it is placed with a specific unique number, and this is important if you use more than one EA on your account. So you can always know what EA took what trade, basically. Next is the stop loss. We will calculate this against the EMA, so we will call it stop loss versus EMA, and let's set it to 100 points, which is 10 pips by default. And so when we open a trade, the stop loss will be 100 points or 10 pips above or below the EMA. And then finally for the TP, we will use a risk to reward ratio, for example 1R, 2R, 3R. So we will call this variable TP versus stop loss, and we will set it to 1R by default. So now we have all the variables that we need. Let's go to the onInit function. First, we want to attach our magic number to the EA by calling the function tradeSetExpert magic number. Then we also don't want to see grid lines on our chart, so we'll call a function called chartSetInteger. We use 0, which means the current chart, and then chart show grid, and then we set it to false. This is just a personal preference, but then we need the handles that we created for the EMA and the RSI. We need to assign functions to them. So we say handle EMA is equal to IMA. We provide the current symbol. We use the time frame variable that we created, then the EMA period that we created. We want to start from index 1, which is the previous bar. We use mode EMA and price median, which is the high and low divided by 2. For the RSI, we say handle RSI is equal to IRSI. We use the current symbol, the time frame, 14 periods, and finally price median. We could also use price close, which is what I usually prefer, but for this EA I'd like to try it with price median. That's it for the onInit function. Now let's go to the onDinit function. Here we want to use indicator release and provide the handle names so that when we remove the EA from the chart, it will release the RSI and the EMA. Next, we need to create a function which we will call isNewBar. This is a bool function which returns true or false based on the code that we provide it. So we want to use this function to make sure that we only check our conditions once per every new bar. Otherwise, when our conditions are true, it will enter hundreds of trades as the conditions will be true for every tick in that bar, which is something that we do not want to happen. So this is an important function and we definitely need it. So when we call this function, it checks whether it is a new bar, and if it is, then it returns true, otherwise it returns false. Now that we have this function, we can go to the onTick function where we will add the trading logic. So first of all, we want to call that isNewBar function by saying if it's not a new bar, then just return, which means the file will end here and it will wait until a new bar is opened. Now on a new bar, the first thing that we want to do is to copy the values of the EMA and the RSI, and we do this using the copy buffer function. So we say copy buffer and we provide the name of the handle, which in this case is handle EMA, then the buffer number, which is 0, and we want to start at index 1, which is the previous candle, and then 1 again, as we only want to store that one value. Then we copy these values into the indicator buffer variable that we created, and once it's copied into the indicator buffer, then we can pass on the value, which is an array variable, into the indicator buffer itself. Then we create a double variable and we call it EMA, and we assign it the value from the indicator buffer from position 0. For the RSI, we want 2 values because we're going to check if index 2, which is the bar before the previous bar, was in the overbought or oversold territory, and then if the previous bar came back and closed above or below it. So to be clear on that, we're not taking the trade on entering the overbought or oversold territory. We are buying or selling when we exit the overbought, oversold territory, meaning that we need 2 values. So we say copy buffer. We use the RSI handle. There's only one line, so we say 0. We start at the previous bar, which is 1. We want to store 2 values, and then we copy it into the indicator buffer. And this is also why we created the indicator buffer as an array, so that we can store more than one value in it. Also, because we're storing more than one value, we also want to say array set as series, and then set the series as of the indicator buffer is true, so that they are used in the right order. Now we can copy these values. So we're creating 2 variables, RSI times 1, which is the previous bar, and then RSI times 2, which is the bar before the previous bar. And then because we have it set as a proper series, we can pass the position 0 to the previous bar and the position 1 to the bar before the previous bar. Now we need one more thing, which is the close of the last candle. And we will get this value and store it in a variable called close times 1 by using the function iClose. We pass the current symbol, the time frame that we have defined, and the last bar closed value, which is 1. Then we need to check whether the price is above or below the EMA. So for our buy condition, we say if the close of the last candle is above the EMA, and then if the RSI times 1 is above the lower band and the RSI times 2 is below the lower band, and then positions total is also less than 1, meaning that there is no other open position at this point in time. If these conditions are met, then we want to define our entry point, our stop loss, and our take profit. And we define them by using these double variables. So the entry is the close of the last bar. Our stop loss is EMA minus whatever points that we define. And then the TP is the entry plus the entry minus the stop loss. So however big the stop loss is, times the TP versus the stop loss, which we defined as a risk to reward ratio. So if the risk to reward ratio is 1R, then the TP will be the same amount of points as the stop loss. If it's set to 2R, then it will be double the size of the stop loss, and so on. And then we need to calculate the lot size based on the risk percentage that we've provided. And we can do this by creating another function at the bottom of the file, and we will call it calculate lots. And when we call this function, we will provide the value stop loss points. Then using these functions, we're going to decide what should be the lot size in order to achieve the risk percent that we have provided in the inputs. So now that we have this function, we can go back up to our onTick function and we can create a double variable called lots. And let's say calculate lots by using that function. And we provide the size of the stop loss by saying entry minus stop loss. And now we can open a buy position. So we say trade.buy, we provide the lots, the symbol, then the price, which is the entry, then the stop loss and take profit, plus any comment that you want to use. I will just use the name of the CA. And then for the sell condition, we do the same in reverse. So this time it's if the price is closed below the EMA and the RSI 2 bars behind was above the upper band, and the previous candle is less than the upper band, which means it has come back down. And also if there are no open positions, then we open a sell position. We say trade.sell, lots, entry, stop loss, take profit, and the comment. As this is a sell position, the stop loss is above the entry point, so you have to calculate the distance of the stop loss by saying stop loss minus entry. The same applies for the TP. We're going to be using stop loss minus entry times the risk to reward ratio. And that's it. So we can now compile. We don't have any errors or warnings. And now we can go and run it in the strategy tester to make sure everything's working. Okay, so we can see that the trades are opening and everything is working correctly. So now let's just turn off the visual mode and let's see how it performs over the year. Okay, so it started off good and then it just failed with these settings. I have optimized it and I have found some more profitable settings. So now let me show you these. We're also going to test it for the last 5.5 years, and I will show you the inputs. So we are still using the 200 EMA, but now we are using the upper RSI at 80 and the lower at 20. We're risking 2%, where our stop loss against the EMA is 300 points or 30 pips, and we are going to target a 1 to 5 risk to reward. So press start. And now we can see that it is working a lot better, and it is now, in fact, profitable. We did have a period here where the market was just sideways, but it is what it is. And then we broke out and we kept on going higher. So if we go to the backtest report, we was using 100% history quality. We had a starting balance of 100,000 and we made 80% of the account in 5 years, 9 months. I have a profit factor of 1.41, recovery factor of 1.71. Our max drawdown was 19%. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with it. We took something that wasn't profitable and we made it profitable. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and leave a like. And if you would like to learn more about MQL5 programming, feel free to check out my website, and there you will find a complete beginner-friendly course with everything you need to start creating and programming your own expert advisors. I will also post this EA plus the source code in my free Telegram channel, so if you would like to download this EA, then feel free to join. Again, I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.